In the 1860s, Buffalo was the 10th largest city in the United States, quickly outgrowing its crowded urban core.
The original city plan of Buffalo was laid out in 1804 by Joseph Ellicott. He was a surveyor who'd worked in Washington, and he took the idea of a radiating city plan with broad streets going off in different directions. And the center of it all was Niagara Square, which would be comparable to Capitol Hill in the Washington, D.C. plan.
Dorsheimer took Olmsted north of the city to view several possible sites for a park. One overlooked the point where Lake Erie flowed into the Niagara River. The second site was at a high point on the city's east side. Olmsted himself noticed a third possibility along a winding wooded creek.
He looked at all three, he liked all three, and then he looked at the Joseph Ellicott radial design for downtown, and it all came together.
The folks who brought Olmsted here were looking for their Central Park. He said, oh, no, not one, three. That was a masterful piece of visionary work in an environment where it had to feel counterintuitive.
But he goes further and he says you then need to connect these parks with parkways, and that will give you a sort of skeleton for your city.
They were broader streets that had some shady tree cover, bringing you throughout the entire city, 6 miles of connected parks and parkways. So you could move from one park to the other, not feeling like you had left a park at any one time.
Anyone in the city could step out of their front door and within a block or so be able to be in a park landscape. It was this notion of a city within a park that was so unique and so different. It had never been done before in the United States.
Olmsted and Vaux's concept for a system of interconnected parks and parkways was groundbreaking. No other American city had attempted anything on this scale. But it was a radical departure from the single park city leaders were expecting.
Olmsted didn't have complete support at the beginning for his parks because there were people in town who thought they were going to be too expensive. They didn't want their tax money going for to buy the land and so forth. And Olmsted convinced them, and he turned out to be right, that by investing in the parks, the city would get a return on its dollar even more than it invested by the rise of property values for the land around the parks. That people would want to come and live near these places.
He sells them on the idea, and they implement this extremely ambitious plan. And it's, I think, a very important moment because it's one of the first cases of city planning, not simply laying out grids of streets for utilitarian reasons, but having this bigger idea of how you might lay out public spaces within a city.
That connectivity is something that Olmsted first demonstrated in Buffalo and then went on, as did his later firm, to create in so many other cities in the country.